Hiya peoples of the interwebs! So let's talk Skylanders. I've recently begun replaying all the old Skylander games and it made me want to draw it. I've always loved Skylanders since I was quite young, and every few years I begin to hyperfixate on them all over again. And you know, recently with how my art's kind of been going, whenever I tend to hyperfixate on something, it's well, it's time to do a whole bunch of drawings of it. I've kind of decided that I'm going to do a mix of different things. I've decided to draw them both in my little chibi stickery style and as humans too, because well, I felt like it. But regardless, this video may be a little lore dumpy, but hey, you get to listen to me yap about a hyperfixation I've had since I was very wee. Yippee! Anyways, let's jump into this drawing, shall we? Anyways, to start us off, I figured I just had to start with Spyro himself. This is for a few different reasons. You know, on one hand, he's got his own set of games and is popular outside of the Skylander franchise. Plus, the first game is called Skylanders Spyro's Adventure, and I did want to get through all of the first-gen games before I moved on to the other ones. So starting off with Spyro just kind of made sense. Anyways, it makes some sense to go over some lore just because, well, this is the first episode of the series, so what are Skylanders? Well, Skylanders are a powerful group of heroes that are chosen by this guy called Eon in order to protect Skylands, which is essentially a magical world that's constantly under threat from evil. Eon himself is this really famous portal master guy. A portal master is essentially a powerful person who can control something called a portal of power. It's a device that lets them summon and travel between different worlds essentially. Eon is considered to be one of the most, if not the most powerful portal masters across all of Skylands, which you know is kind of the main reason why he was able to form and manage all of the Skylanders. Each Skylander has their own unique abilities and they can even come from different realms entirely. Despite this, they are all united in defending this thing called the Core of Light, which is currently in Eon's possession. It helps hold back the forces of evil and pretty much keeps balance across the world. And Spyro is one of these heroes, at least in this universe. Actual, his game, Spyro's his own thing, and he's just got a different universe counterpart that is also Spyro but not Spyro. It's a whole thing. So yeah, same name, same purple scales, but two completely different characters, depending on which game you're playing. So yeah, when I draw him, we're kind of gonna be doing it in a mix between how he looks in his own games and how he looks in Skylanders, because I couldn't decide what I liked more. Anyways, let's get into the main part of this video. I'm drawing Spyro as a human. I've always been a big fan of drawing weird creatures as people, I grew up drawing Pokemon as humans. And now I'm starting on the grind of doing as many Skylanders as I can. And with these drawings, I really wanted to push myself out of my comfort zone way more than I would normally. So I'm gonna be playing around with a lot of poses and stuff and trying to make them more dynamic and more interesting. Because most of the time when I do these characters as human drawings, I draw them standing there just to show off the outfit and design. But I really wanted to play around with poses, so I kind of did a bit of a mix. By that I mean I kind of did a sketchy drafty thing where I just did the colors and the outfit and kind of just decided what I wanted the design to look like, and then took it over and made it a proper illustration in a different pose with a background and everything. It took ages. That's why this video is kind of long for just one guy being drawn. Moving on though, let's talk a bit about my design for how I wanted Spyro to look. So I didn't want to just make them fully humans, because they're still in a fantasy world. I wanted them to be fantasy-esque, just more humanoid than they would be otherwise. So Spyro got to keep his horns and wings and tail because I wanted to. This will carry over into all the future drawings I do of all the other Skylanders, just because I'm going to be adding the different creature aspects to their humanoid design. They're not just gonna be humans, they're just more human, you know? Regardless, Spyro in the Skylanders universe is a magic type character, so I wanted to make his outfit very magic-y, like he's a wizard or a sorcerer, he's been studying magic. I don't know, if I gave him a D&D class it would be sorcerer, and that's pretty much how I decided what I wanted his outfit to look like. I also really wanted to include Sparks in his design, you know, the little dragonfly, so he's just got a little friend. Sparks is still hanging around. I also made Spyro look kind of younger, like teenagery. I'm thinking like 15, 16. It's just if you like follow like Spyro's lore, like how his character acts, he just acts really immature half the time. Like he's a hero and he wants to help, but he's kind of immature about it half the time. The best way I can describe him is typical shonen anime protagonist. I can't explain why, that's just what it is. As far as pose, I decided I wanted to go with something really like swooshy. I just wanted to play around with like, I don't know, lines of action, if you've heard of those. It's like swooshy lines that the drawing follows, I don't know. Look up a tutorial to describe it, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just here to experiment and see what I like the look of. I'm just learning new shit. It did take a while before I got it somewhere I liked, but I did eventually get it there. And man, when I tell you that the like finished version of this drawing is one of the best things I've drawn, I'm not even joking. Anyway, talking about Spyro's lore in this like other humanoid universe, I don't think it would be all that different from his like basic lore and backstory, you know? I just feel like it would just essentially be the same thing, so let's just talk about it a bit. So as we all know, Spyro was born as like a type of magical purple dragon. He has magic abilities from a very young age, and he was born in a place that's very far away from Skylanders, you know, originally. I feel like in this universe, the dragons would have the ability to turn into like big actual dragon forms, as well as have a more humanoid form to fit in better with like human society, I suppose. And this all comes from the fact that they are like magic, or at least that they have magical abilities. When Spyro switches to his dragon form, I don't think it would be the same as it is like in basic Skylanders where he's really small. I think it would be a lot bigger, as I just like the idea of the dragons in this universe being like massive, like big old guys. Like think the dragons from Game of Thrones. Big old guys. His form isn't fully grown, but he wouldn't be small. As Spyro grew up, he showed himself to be kind of like a protector. He fought back against like bullies and things, like when he was very, very young. And as he aged, he did his best to become a warrior against evil and just a protector of the peace. It wasn't long before he started going on adventures to help those around him, and these adventures reached the ears of people outside of where he lived, including into Skylands. Spyro's exploits eventually reached the ears of Master Eon, the portal master I mentioned earlier, who seeked out Spyro and asked him to join the Skylanders and help him fight against the forces of evil, to which Spyro of course agreed, and ever since he's been working with the Skylanders. There you go, that's Spyro's backstory for this universe. Basically nothing has changed from his like usual one, and yeah. Back to the drawing, I can see I'm on the colouring stage now, and who told me it was a good idea to draw a bunch of scales by hand? That was pain, it took so long. They look really good, but it was so painful and it took ages. And you know, now that I've done it with one of these drawings, I'm gonna have to do it with every other dragon I like do. They're all gonna have to have scales, and it's just gonna be pain. It does look really good though, so I don't know if I should be complaining about it or not. Kind of dreading doing more of them though. I do really like the colours I went with for his drawing. Like, his Skylander self is a lot darker than the colours I went with, mostly because my brain was filled with thoughts of like the Spyro from Spyro's Reignited. Because I really like that design. I did ombre his wings a bit to make them a bit darker, but it's mostly Spyro Reignited's colours, so eh. Anyway, let's talk about this background. This background took ages as well, just because, well, I don't know how to draw backgrounds really, so I was playing around with lots of different things. I kind of want to make it like all swooshy around him and look like he's properly in the environment, and then I gave up because it wasn't looking how I wanted it to. I did have fun making like a bunch of like floaty islands because, well, they're in Skylands and Skylands has a bunch of floaty islands. I just wanted to include them somewhere. I also played around a lot with adding these like really angular clouds. Like I used like a ruler tool to make the bottoms really straight and added all these like very straight lines around them. I just really like how it looks. I did kind of go a bit overboard with the lines at first though, and kind of had to delete a bunch of them after the fact because I went a bit crazy with them. But I liked it in the end. I also added a bunch of like starry things because the whole thing was I made it like sun-city. It just matches his character's like colour scheme more, with the background being like purpley oranges. And yeah, I just had fun messing around with it. And now's the exciting part, because I decided to add something to this drawing I've never done before. Because the background colours were so similar to his character colours, I wanted to add something that would make him stand out more. So I started adding this like line around his line art, just over top of it in places. I went a bit crazy at first and like did it in this like neon blue. I do end up changing it to more of like a light purple and generally reducing the amount of like the lines that are everywhere. But I really like how it made like parts of his design stand out more, like his scarves and his tail, and parts where part of his design crossed over top of another one. It just clarified his pose a bit, which I really liked. I didn't go too crazy with the shading, I kept it pretty simple. I just kind of wanted something that was a bit more simple, and this is like my standard level of shading. He had lots of detail everywhere else, so I didn't want to go overboard on the shading as well. I think it was a good idea in the end, just because he had like lots of little details in his design, and I didn't want to make the drawing like super crowded. I still wanted it to be a bit simple. Plus, I don't like doing complicated shading, it stresses me out. I don't want to learn how to do that too. Also, I did forget about doing his like tail slash back spikes again. I forgot to do it on the chibi as well, and I had to go back and add them later because I forgot they were there. But hey, they were there for the end product, so hey, it doesn't matter anymore. But yeah, that's my Spyro. I'm just finishing it up here. It's not gonna be too much longer, I promise. I'm just adding a little bit like overlay layers and making him a little bit more shiny in places. I just like doing it. I just like sparkly things, don't come for me. But with the lighting done and a few more details in the background, that's my Spyro as a human done. It took quite a while. I don't know how long this drawing took, but it took like a few days. It took a while. But you know, I'm super proud with the end result, so I think it was all worth it in the end. And with that all done, so is this video. I hope you guys liked this one. Like I said, I'm super proud of the drawing in it, and I honestly think this is one of my better voiceovers, but let me know what you guys think. I'm gonna try to get through doing as many characters as I can, but I make no promises on how many I do get done. But the more support this video gets, the more likely I am to continue. So if you like this new to be series, well, drop a like and subscribe and maybe I'll keep going. I can promise that I'll do like at least a handful of these videos because I've already finished 3 of the drawings and have a 4th one in the works. So hey, maybe I'll actually start posting more. I make no promises on that. Anyway, I hope you guys liked this one. Bye bye!